I have a message for those of you who need to hear it today. I was just tuning in with the energies specifically for this day, but I think this can probably relate to more than just today and may be valid for any time you see this video. There is a collective energy right now that I would say is in flux. So there's a massive shifting taking place within us, within our own bodies, and then within the earth herself. I've mentioned this in several of my other videos that we are sort of in an activation. So I said in my August forecast that there's a lot of DNA activation happening this month. And there is a lot of upgrading happening this month for many, many people. It's really for any of you who are open to it and have sort of been on this path of awakening and on this path of becoming more conscious and aware. You know, you're going to see or feel the most activation taking place within your gifts, within your psyche, your awareness, all of that. And the reason for that is because you are being prepared to, I guess we could call it, step through a veil. And my guides showed me for the month of August, they kept showing me this 0 point energy. And I have since noticed a few other astrologers and channels or psychic mediums mention this 0 point energy. I believe this 0 point actually really started this month of August and will probably continue on through next year. I just see it going on for a few months, and we're in this 0 point, which, you know, 0 point can mean so many things, but my interpretation of it is like a reset. It feels like there's this reset button being pushed, and we are at all over again this beginning point of creation, and beginning point of creation for each of us as individuals as well as a collective. And so when I talked about how we're all sort of choosing our timelines right now, it doesn't mean that some of us who are choosing different timelines can't eventually catch up with other timelines again. So a lot of us are going to go through this shift first, and then we're going to assist other people through this shift as well. It's this shift of upgrading the human, like the new human. I know it sounds really interesting to some people, but those of you who know what I'm talking about know what I'm talking about. So in order to do this, we do have to walk through a veil of sorts. And on one side of this veil, there are going to be all of the things that we've experienced up to this point in our lives. All of the things that we have been attached to, the people we've been attached to, the beliefs we've had, the stories we have told, the stories we've lived, literally everything. And on the other side of that is a completely transformed version of you that does not hold much of this previous life that you have lived. When we walk through that veil, it is like a transformation of caterpillar to butterfly. And we are all currently in the chrysalis. So we're all feeling this feeling of our cells being activated. When a caterpillar goes into the cocoon, a caterpillar becomes complete and total goo. And it becomes a substance that is no longer recognizable to itself. And then what starts to happen are these imaginal cells start to appear. And imaginal cells are something that the caterpillar did not have prior to this chrysalis phase. These just appear out of nowhere. And imaginal cells are what create the butterfly. So the caterpillar's immune system will actually try to attack the imaginal cells because it doesn't recognize what it is. But the imaginal cells are very strong, and so they are able to still overtake the process and create the butterfly. Now, I don't know when this was, but years and years ago, around the year 2012-ish, there were scientists that were actually finding imaginal cells in the human heart. They were finding them appear just randomly inside of human hearts. And this was the beginning stage of this transformation that I'm talking about. This new human transformation that we are all going through. Well, I should say that a lot of us are going through, and that everybody has the opportunity to go through. Whether or not everybody does will be based on the choices that you are making. Right now, as we're in the chrysalis, a lot of us are feeling a sense of pressure. And also, right before you step through that veil, there's this point of fear that can come up where we get a little bit frozen, or maybe a lot frozen, in our nervous system. Part of the message today is that we have really got to pay attention to our nervous systems and recognize where it is we have been feeling frozen, like we're having a really hard time moving forward. It's completely understandable when you have to let go of a whole phase of life or a whole life lived up to this point in order to step into a new energy and a new beginning. Many of us are at this veil, like we're standing in front of this veil, and we're having to shed old layers of things. And if there is any resistance to this shedding, then it is going to be so much more difficult to step through that veil. But it is very, very important right now that we recognize what we are afraid of, what we're afraid of letting go of and leaving behind, and to allow ourselves to grieve that, but to do our best to move our nervous systems out of that state of freeze. Part of the ways that you can do that, there's something called box breath. So this is something that helps to calm the nervous system if you need it. You take in a breath to the count of 4, and then you hold for 4. And then you breathe out for 4, and you hold it there for 4 as well. So it's 4, 4, 4, 4. That's why it's called box breath. So in for 4, hold for 4, out for 4, hold for 4. So that will be a good thing to help regulate the nervous system. But you also need to be doing things somatically with your body, where you're doing intuitive movement with your body. When you get into fear, that's in the water element. And when the water element freezes, then that means that you need movement. It stops moving. And fire is the antidote to frozen water. You could go get in the hot bathtub. You could literally sit in front of fire and envision the ice within you melting. You need movement that is purposeful to actually call in the fire element when you move. Dancing is a really good movement to bring in the fire element to help melt that fear. The thing about freeze mode is that we tend to get into freeze mode when we feel like we're confronting a threat that is greater than us, that a threat that we feel like we cannot overcome. And that means that the only way to overcome it is to actually face it. We have to confront our fear. We have to confront whatever the demon, so to speak, is. So I was taught by my weapons trainer here in Sedona that the Japanese warriors have this tradition where they carry 2 swords. They have one sword that is for battle, for actual physical battle, and then they have one that is also for demon slaying. So it's actually like the spiritual sword. It was a symbol that they held to help them confront and overcome their inner demons. Right now, we all need to be pulling out that spiritual sword and confronting our fears. Whether or not they are real or not real, we've got to face our fear, and that is the only way to move through transformation and come out the other side as a more whole human being. Facing fear creates maturity and a sense of empowerment like nothing else. So please know that you are not alone. Like I said, there are so many of us that are up against these barriers, these challenges. It's because we are either actively walking through the veil and in that chrysalis, or we are about to enter into it. We're all in different phases of this, and that's okay, because we will all get where we need to go eventually. I hope this was a helpful message, and I hope that you all have a really lovely rest of your day and week, and I'll talk to you soon.